Hi Spencer, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Good as well, thank you. So, in today's interview, I wanted to talk to you about distractions. So, especially now that a lot of people are working from home, they may be more prone to getting distracted, or in some rare cases, I guess, less distracted. Um, I, for one, am definitely less distracted, but I am privileged in the sense of I don't have any kids, I don't have family members. It's just me and my partner who spends a day working as well in a separate room. But I'd be really, really keen to get your thoughts on this, Spencer. So, do you find that you are personally mainly getting distracted by external things, so your phone going off or the kids coming in, or is it mainly yourself, so procrastination, etc.?
Um, yeah, I think it's mainly my own distractions more than anything, to be honest. I'm fairly fortunate as well in that I'm in an annex in the house, so I've got my own space. The kids are over in the house, getting on with their schoolwork, and if anything, my phone has been quieter than it typically would be in the office, and I certainly haven't got the people knocking on the door and popping in saying, "Have you got 5 minutes?" or
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. I think I've become more distracted with the amount of work, the sheer volume of work we're trying to do as a company at the moment. So um, I think it's that typical we're trying to do 20 things at once, which as a company we thrive on being agile and launching new stuff and coming up with new ideas. And I think they've been the distraction. So I was looking at this earlier. It's things like the emails about all of these projects. So I'm getting a heck of a lot more emails than I was getting, and a lot of these are very time sensitive at the moment. So I'm checking my emails. I get the Outlook sort of weekly guidance, and it says I'm checking my emails too often. So when Outlook's telling you that, you know you're in trouble. But we're launching new digital projects. We're launching the COVID-19 website. We're launching the new journal for the Cleveland Clinic. We're launching a learning experience platform. I've been keeping in touch with our clients more than I would do normally. I'm making sure the team are doing well and having to record videos for them because I can't see them face to face, which I wouldn't normally be doing. Not to mention the fact we've also launched a separate standalone recruitment company. So there's lots of different things that we're trying to do at the moment, and it's very easily to get pulled between each of these rather than have that structure like we would normally do, I think.
It sounds like you're getting distracted for the right reasons, though.
Yeah, I think so, but it's still good to try and keep a structure in place. But because there's so much of this, as I said before, it's time sensitive.
Mm.
I'm spending more time reacting than I am being proactive, which is never such a good thing.
What I was going to ask next then is, would you say that you can control your distractions? So no matter whether they're caused by something external that you might perceive as something that you can't control, or whether it's something that you are doing yourself. But do you think no matter what distractions are, do you think that you can control them basically?
When you say you, do you mean me or one in general?
You. So let's say you're the one getting distracted. So
It's
can
a
you
different
control
answer.
them?
I think it is possible to. I don't think I'm doing that as well as I could be at the moment. I would like to think I do it probably better than a lot of people, but certainly not up to the usual standard I have. I'll show you something in a minute that I use, but it's I used a business coach last year for a little while, a guy called Eric Partaker, who's the CEO at Chilangos, and he does a lot of high performance coaching. And he introduced me to these full focus planners that I now use. I have a different one for each quarter, and they're quite big old journals. But it basically sets out your day. I don't know how much of that you can see on there. And I plan my day from the moment I wake up till pretty much the moment I go to bed, and it gives you the weekly tasks and all that. And I think it's having that routine again. It's I have my 90-day plans. I break them down into monthly and weekly, and then having that day to day, literally by the half hour, I know what I'm supposed to do. It doesn't mean that's what I am doing, but I know what I'm supposed to do, so that if I do get distracted, I can always go back to where I was, or I can skip that out and say I'll come back to that later, and stick to my schedule for the day. And I think so having that plan for the day means you're less likely to get distracted because you don't have time to get distracted because you've filled all that white space, as Grant Cardone calls it. It's having white spaces when you've not got anything planned in your diary. there's just a white space there, and therefore you're much more likely to get distracted. Whereas if you've already filled it in, you haven't got the time to get distracted because you've already got something in there.
Yeah.
When I'm in the office, I tend to build in time to reactive time because I know I'm going to get a call or emails or someone pop in. That just happens. I don't know what it's going to be, and I don't know when it's going to be. But if I leave in there half an hour of reactive time, if I haven't used it at the end of the day, I've made I've gained an hour. And if I do need to use it, then I'm not falling behind where I should be. So that's how I try and do it. It doesn't always work like that. That's how I try and do it.
Really interesting. And so this can be a bit controversial, but personally, I think that some distractions can be healthy and sometimes necessary if you don't allow yourself to get too carried away into it. So by that, I mean, for example, let's say you are doing something that requires a lot of focus and you just get stuck and you just can't really carry on, say something like writing or coming up with ideas for something. Then I personally find that going away for 5 minutes and letting myself be distracted, be that just going for a walk around the house, or in the office, that would be in the form of just turning around to my colleague and just having a quick chat. So as long as you don't allow yourself
I've
to
noticed
carry...
you're doing that a lot.
Stop it. But I think that as long as you don't allow yourself to get carried away too much and distract others too much as a result of that, it can be quite healthy. I mean, do you agree with that? Or
Yeah, definitely. I think there's two things there. I think yes, I think it's good to get some distractions, but you again um, without being too regimented. I think you can plan your distractions. If you know, so since we've been on lockdown, I've been trying to go for a run in the mornings. Now, a lot of the time, I'm so busy doing the day-to-day stuff, you don't get a chance to think of that bigger picture stuff. And it's when I get distracted, I start thinking on the bigger picture stuff. Well, if I go for a run for half an hour in the morning, it gives me time to have those thoughts and to start thinking about some of the bigger picture stuff. Um, I've just been on a call for half an hour to another business owner that I know that has a platform for training kids if they want to be doctors. Um, and he's a doctor himself. Well, that was just a bit of a random conversation, but it suddenly led to a huge plan between the two of us that we could do a partnership together. You're building those things not knowing what the outcome might be, but that it's going to be useful, and it stops you thinking about the day-to-day stuff all the time. But I think the more so for the last 6 weeks, I've been a lot more distracted, as we were saying, with all these different things. But I think that can be, when you're working in sort of a bit of a crisis, so to speak, that can be when you get the best results. I think I work very well under pressure. So actually, when I'm not under pressure, and that's when my days don't necessarily get filled up, from morning till night, that's when I tend to get a little bit more distracted with some of the stuff that's not so important, like just going and having a chat with someone in the kitchen that I'm going to make a cup of tea and all of a sudden I've been in there 10, 15 minutes. When I'm in a crisis, I'm back to back to back to back, and I know I've become much more efficient and I'm distracted for the right reasons. So I think it's just getting that balance, isn't it?
let's say you are in a situation where you have been distracted, and you couldn't control it. You've allowed yourself to be distracted and you're in that situation. Instead of letting yourself getting sucked into that hole, how do you get yourself out of that? Do you have any tips or advice around that?
I think it goes back to, you can't see in my office now, but I've got my notebook here, which is covering my daily and my weekly stuff and monthly stuff. I've got a great big whiteboard here with my 90-day plan. It's just reminding yourself what, as a good friend of ours, Steve Clark, says, WTF. And where's the focus, rather than the other version of that. But it's having that focus, constantly reminding yourself what you're trying to achieve and why you're trying to achieve it. And then you think, well, if this is, I'm being distracted. So I was talking to Steve about this the other day, and I said, well, yeah, I'm really, really busy at the moment, but it's not the shiny pennies as we were talking about, the new exciting toys. It's the day-to-day stuff. I'm really, really busy with launching these new products and the COVID-19 stuff and all of this stuff, which is really, really relevant. And it's right where we're trying to focus our attention at the moment. So as long as you know what you're trying to focus on, and that's what you're getting distracted by, that's not a big issue. If you start getting distracted by the fact that, I'm thinking, actually, in 6 months' time, when we're out of lockdown, I'd like to go out for a meal with some of my mates to my favourite restaurant. I'm going to start looking up restaurants now because I've been working for the last hour and I need a break. That's not maybe quite so useful, although if it helps you mentally, maybe it is. But it's having that focus.
I was just going to ask you, what would you say are the consequences of allowing yourself to get too distracted? But I guess you kind of just answered that. It could be that you lose sight of the overall goal and the targets that you want to achieve. And therefore, by getting distracted, the consequence is that you just don't get there as fast or as effectively as you want. Do you agree with that, or anything else
Yeah,
to add?
definitely. It's like having a sat nav on your car, isn't it? If I decide I want to leave my house here, in Essex, and I want to go up to Scotland, I put in the address in Scotland where I want to go, and the sat nav will tell me the quickest route, assuming that's what I've planned it to do, rather than anything else. If I don't take a sat nav, I'll just start going, oh, I fancy going via London, I fancy going versus Birmingham, and via here and here. And if that's what you want to do, that's great, but you're being distracted by the other places on the journey rather than where you actually want to go. So it's a little bit, do you want to enjoy the journey, or do you want to get to the destination first? Which is more important? And there's no right or wrong. If you're going on a driving holiday and you want to just go and see lots of different places, fine, that's great. If you want to get to Scotland because you've got to be there the next day for a wedding or for whatever, then you need to get there as quick as possible without being distracted. So it depends what your goal is. And if you know what your goal is and where the focus is, well, actually, if you're going via London and Birmingham, you're not being distracted because that's what you plan to do in the first place. So it's sticking to the plan that you've got, making sure the plan you've got is the right plan for you, and then sticking to it.
Love this. Who knew that the topic of distraction could be so fascinating? But on that note, this was a nice little distraction from our day-to-day job, I would
Exactly.
say. So thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to another one of these soon where I can pick your brain on a different topic. Thanks, Spencer.
Brilliant. No problem. Thanks, Ed.